Did you know there is a break-in period for the new Jeep Wrangler? I was looking through the manual and came across it, and we're going to run through it. But before we do that, there is something else you should check when you first bring home your new Jeep Wrangler, or really any vehicle for that matter. So the first thing that you should check when you get home is your tire pressures. Now, I'm sure everybody already knows, but the recommended tire pressure is always on a sticker or a placard inside the door jamb. And on mine, it says 37 PSI, front, rear, and spare. So we're going to check just one. I want to see where I'm running right now. Now, obviously, I didn't just get home, but whenever the temperature changes outside or a front goes through, the tire pressures change. So let's take a look. And I always use just one of these old-fashioned style or pen type air gauges. This one I've had probably for years, and it works really well. So let's check. Mine right now, if you can see there, is at a little bit above 37. And that's where I like to keep them because, again, you know the temperature is going to fluctuate. Let's check one more. The one, of course, that just sits on the back. Now, this is important, of course, if you ever have a flat. Worst thing that could happen is you have a flat tire, you've got a great spare, right? But your spare doesn't have any air in it. And this one is right about at 38, which isn't too bad. And I would actually recommend keeping the spare a little bit higher, maybe, I don't know, 5 to maybe even 10 pounds higher. And that's just because it doesn't get used. It sits back there. It's going to fluctuate with air temperature as well. And again, you never want to have a tire as a spare and then have it low when you really need it. Now, let's take a look at the manual and see what the break-in period is, or what the break-in procedure is for the new Jeep Wrangler. We've got the manual out here. Not much of a manual. This is kind of like an abbreviated manual, I think. But anyway, it does have an engine break-in recommendation section. And it's for two different engines, I guess. What I have is the smaller. There's also the bigger 6.4 liter. That's not going to apply to ours. So it says here, a long break-in period is not required for the engine and drivetrain, transmission and axle in your vehicle. Drive moderately during the first 300 miles. I think I've been doing that. After the initial 60 miles, speeds up to 50 or 55 are desirable. I don't know who's going to drive 60 miles below 50, but that's what the manual says. While cruising, brief full throttle acceleration within the limits of the local traffic laws contributes to a good break-in. You should avoid wide open throttle acceleration in low gear as it can be detrimental. Probably more so for the transmission, I would think. The engine oil installed in the engine at the factory is a high-quality, energy-conserving type lubricant. Oil changes should be consistent with anticipated climate conditions under which vehicle operations will occur. For the recommended viscosity and quality grades, it directs us to page 71, which we'll check here. There is a caution. It says never use non-detergent or straight mineral oil in the engine or damage may result. So let's go to, let's see, page 71. And it's just a chart type thing. Let's find engine oil. And this is for the 2-liter engine. Again, not the 3.6, I guess, is what I have. I'm curious, though, is there a difference between the 2-liter and the 3.6? The 3.6 recommends an SW or a 5W30 full synthetic, and then it gives a bunch of equivalents and things, I guess. So a 5W30. The 3.6, which is what we have here, it recommends a 0W20. Interesting. So we do have a different oil requirement for the 3.6 liter engine. Something to be aware of, and obviously if you're trying to maintain warranty, you want to make sure you use the right viscosity. And you know, it's interesting. I hear a lot of people talk about going to a different weight oil. I wouldn't do that, at least not while you're under warranty, right? Because it is possible if you have a really motivated rep, let's say at Toyota, and you're trying to claim warranty because your engine blew up or something crazy, right? They could send out the oil that's in your vehicle and have it tested to see what type of oil you are running. And I don't mean brand. And that's another thing. You know, you see a lot of chatter out there in groups and forums and things about different brands. You know, Mobil One or all the different kinds, which Mobil One is what I choose to use. I don't honestly believe it really matters. What's important is the viscosity, the grade of the oil that you put in the vehicle, right? Because again, if Toyota, I say Toyota, I meant Jeep. I was thinking of the Tacoma. But if Jeep decides to send out the oil, and surely they would, I mean, if they're going to spend the money to replace an engine, they want to make sure that it wasn't your fault, right? So if they send it out to be tested, it's not going to come back as, well, this is Mobil One oil, or this is AMSOIL oil, or whatever. It's just going to give the viscosity. So all this chatter about using different types, different manufacturers, I guess, I don't think there's a lot of validity to that. And honestly, how many different oil producers are there, really? Is it all just coming from the same place? You tell me, I don't know. It's kind of like gasoline. You know, I have people that swear by different gas station brands, right? I go to this gas station or that gas station because they have better gas. Where does gas come from? And how would you really know in the end anyway? You'd almost have to work for that corporation to see where they buy the oil. And then you'd have to do research on those oil companies to see where they get the oil to create the gasoline. I mean, on and on. And I doubt really very many people do that. It's all just a matter of advertising and what the big companies want to make you think is better. I think most of it probably comes from the same place, and it really doesn't matter. I mean, think about it. If a company out there was putting out a product that was going to destroy your vehicle, they wouldn't be in business very long, right? Anyway, that's what the manual says regarding break-in. There is a break-in for the Jeep Wrangler. I would make sure, if you can, to follow that, but honestly, I don't know how many people really do. Now, one other thing I do want to mention here, we do have a fluid capacity section, and the 3.6 liter, which is our vehicle, takes 5 quarts, 5 US quarts of oil, or 4.73 liters if you happen to be on the metric system. That's nice. That means I simply need 5 quarts of oil, and this is not for the Jeep, I have it for the Tacoma. But I simply need 5 straight quarts of oil. I really hate those that call for like 5.371 or 6.024. How do you measure that? That's where you're out there adding oil in slowly, pulling the dipstick, trying to make sure that you don't exceed the full mark, because that's something else that you don't want to do. You don't want to overfill the vehicle. Anyway, that's just a quick look at the break-in, as I mentioned. I will try to follow it. I do have a little bit of mileage left before I get to that, 600-mile threshold. So I will try to follow that to make sure, or 300 miles, I guess it is. So before I get to that 300-mile threshold, leave a comment. Let me know. Do you guys follow this stuff? Were you even aware that there still is a break-in period for vehicles, new vehicles these days? I'd be curious to know. Also, don't forget, smash that subscribe button if you haven't before, and we'll see you next time on the web. Bye.